And then we added on to 7, or other factors as deemed appropriate by the planning board.
If you read that whole thing, you shouldn't be putting in restrict solar. You shouldn't put panel in for solar.
No, it isn't solar
You
panel.
should have just
Solar,
access.
right.
Yeah,
If
restricted.
you read the whole thing.
And you're going to eliminate the inconsistent prevailing uses in developmental trends in any portion of town.
Yep.
I'm just, so it's basically saying that no wind turbine should discourage the development and use of land.
Right.
Well, how does a wind turbine discourage the use of land?
Again, information provided to us, so we just kept it in there.
Well, I'm just trying to make sense of how it could discourage the use of land.
It would discourage first round development.
Well, once it's there,
And it's only for non-participating property owners.
all right, so we put it up. And the second part says impair the value of the land.
No,
Well,
it's not the, I mean, that comes down to the crux, and those are the two places where you're fostering litigation. And I'm not saying that's necessarily good or bad, but when you have a special use permit application, those will be the two, issues that people are gonna drive to. You know, I don't like the windmill, limits my, development possibilities. It's impairing my value of the land, and you're gonna have 4 appraisers say it does, and 4 say it doesn't. It's,
so I'm thinking these are good things to have in there,
well, it's
because
up to the board.
somebody's gonna argue that you put a wind turbine up, now my house is worth $10,000 less.
You can argue it anyway.
So according to this, it says we are not going to do that. As soon as we put one up, somebody's gonna say, you broke your own local law because now my house isn't worth as much. So,
Could I read my note from the planning board's workshop on what they
Well,
proposed for?
no, I mean, the
rewording?
board, this board is, deciding the issue. I think what the problem I have with that wording is that it's a prohibition. It's not a consideration. In other words, it's not, in determining, site placement, the planning board shall consider, this, and this.
right.
And so impairment of value, all of those things are important considerations, but they shouldn't be considered a prohibition, because as soon as someone says, well, I'm not participating, and I've got all this evidence from these brokers who say it impairs the value of my land, so you cannot issue that special use permit. No, it's supposed to be considered. I mean, there's valid, concern, but they should be considerations, not prohibition.
And the way it's written, they're a prohibition.
Yes.
Okay, that's how I saw it. I don't like it.
Was it planning board or this is my note from what we discussed,
So the first sentence, which says when reviewing site placement of the following, all pertinent issues shall be considered. It's that next three, F-E-W shall. Yeah, W-E-F shall. I think if that was changed, it wouldn't be so prohibition. If that was changed so that these issues will be considered.
Okay, can you rewrite that first?
Well, maybe you'll do it real quickly, because you've got, the following, shall be considered.
And then just cross it.
Following shall be
Colon,
considered. And then it would have to be changed grammatically, maybe. That means written condition.
well, and then solar access, on property of a non-participating property owner.
that period into a colon? Would that do the exact same thing?
Yeah, and then Greg wanted to delete the
Number two?
number two.
Yeah.
And then, that's just good. You know, it should be considered, you know, the development and use of land, residence, and structures owned by non-participating owners
So they would all be the same.
in their successors, yeah, they're just,
Considerations.
Their considerations, I soften it up at the top.
yeah.
If a drainage exception on case-by-case basis, and that's what this should be. You know,
Impairment of value.
it would leave us open for,
Non-participating land, non-participating property owners.
Can I ask a question? Do you really need that line at all to abide by the setbacks?
The whole section or just that
The whole
five?
section?
The whole section?
As long as you're abiding by all the setbacks, essentially approved, is that line necessary?
Well, but that's what the setbacks are.
Do the setbacks address solar access?
How are you going to determine that?
I feel better just throwing the whole thing out because I think it's just too subjective.
Is that something to get in there?
That's up to you. I mean, the setbacks do, I mean, the purpose of the setbacks was to consider all of these issues. I mean, they were all considered in establishing, you know, those different setbacks. The setbacks are more empirical measure. As I say, either all of these issues, such as, there's
What's the feeling of the board?
great litigation.
I think I agree with it. The setback should take it out. We don't have to deal with anything. The setbacks say it for themselves.
What do you think, Greg?
Well, the dilemma here is the setback issue. It will be a dilemma shortly, too, I'm sure. But the setbacks will address the entire topic of item 16.
Got it?
Yeah, I just think it's too many problems.
We'll just strike 16.
I'd rather have considerations instead of prohibitions. And if you can do this intelligently with the setbacks coming up, you can strike entire clause number 16.
Page 23. As far as the roads and traffic, should we have something in here that highway superintendent's involved in those decisions?
Well, that would all be in the road use agreement. It's, you know, it's required by the. Like the town supervisor wants to go out and the road.
They look at the setbacks.
Let me start.
Go for it, girl.
Okay. I figured it out, and with the setbacks at 7 times the 430, you're talking 2,800 feet in all directions, which is basically going to be a square mile, which is over 500 acres. The makeup of this town is small farms. Besides Carhart, I think you'd have a hard time finding somebody with 500 acres. It could qualify. You have a wind turbine. I've read over 600 of the surveys. I'm just going over it quickly in my head. I would guess about 75% of the town has said that they wanted windmills in the town. And I would hate to come up with a setback that eliminates a windmill on anybody's property besides Lake Carhart.
I have one question. The surveys, were they calculated by family
Per family.
or by tax map number?
Per household.
One per
Okay, 'cause I
household.
got 5.
Yeah, we only counted one, sorry.
Okay, all
Sorry,
right.
one.
They were mailed out by real property.
I got
So
you.
every tax, or about every tax parcel got one, but.
We're talking about compromise so that we protect the property owner's rights to do something with their property, to make some income. But we're also talking about protecting those of you who have residents that, are not in favor of them. But we're talking compromise. And maybe allowing only 1 or 2 in the town, I don't think that's compromise.
I'm sorry, I can't let this go. Please allow me to speak. We are talking about non-participating property owners.
No,
no, no.
You don't have, as a property owner.
Jane, sit down.
You're wrong.
If I can just say one thing, I believe that was the concept of having the ability to have participating, non-participating.
We can stop the meeting right here. Stop it.
No, no, I don't want to do that. I won't
Just
say
be
anything.
quiet then.
Please,
I will.
please.
We'd like to get done.
So, making this long.
I don't think it's
Quiet.
Jane,
I guess I've said my piece, and somebody else can have a different opinion, but that's my feeling.
Okay. Good.
How did the planning board come up with that 2,800 feet?
Again, we were, figures that were given to us or that were thrown out there as consideration were, I think it was like 3,600 feet, and then it was a kilometer, 3,500 feet, and then a kilometer, which was 3,200 feet, to a half mile, which was 2,600 feet. I believe your committee came up with the 32 or 3,500 feet, whatever is your compromise. And then we started deliberating from that point on, saying, do we want to go initially from residents or from property line or whatever. We went non-participating, participating because Roger advised us that's what the state used. We wanted to keep apples to apples. And then we started considering versus setbacks as far as like designated structure for all wind towers to go times the number of height. So it could be negotiated or whatever, or the possibility of somebody having a smaller windmill at X amount of times that height versus a 400 footer or whatever. It might be a 300 footer or whatever. So we went through about 5 different scenarios, and we polled the board, and we went like 3 different votes, and it was a stalemate. And finally, it came down to we decided on times the number of height, and the proposal out there was, I think it was 6 times was the lowest. No, I can't say that. 4 times was the lowest, and I think 7 was the highest.
those eyes.
Yeah, and then it finally came down to 7 times. That's the way we got a resolution, the consensus for the planning board, was at 7 times. 6 times was considered, 6.5 times was considered. Again, compromise between the half mile and 2,800 feet or whatever. And the way it got through the board was 7 times the height.
You got two other factors, Greg. You gotta consider blade and ice throw, which could, you're talking at least 1,700 feet. It's very odd that it would happen, but it can happen. And your next factor is your noise level. Anything actually over, we'll say 40 dB can really be distracting to people. And you've gotta be close to a kilometer away to get that 40 dB level.
I understand. Now with that 2,800 feet, let me follow up. With that 2,800 foot, is there any idea of how many sites would be available for industrial scale wind energy facilities with that 2,800 foot
I
setback?
don't really, I can't answer that.
Less than half.
I'm sorry.
Less than half of the proposed number.
With that project.
With the project was proposed, 7 times 400, 2,800 feet, you're going to have less than half of the windmill zone.
But then when you get the waiver system
The waiver,
involved,
right, the waiver, we put the waiver in place to add potential negotiation between property owners and have the ability to waive the 7 times the height, but not less than 4 times the height.
If they were willing to put up with the looks of it basically, and noise and stuff like that, they could leave it.
That's what we do that for, so you can't unite between the people affected and the people that would benefit.
And I just want to remind the board that the document that we were working on wasn't in reference to any project that was proposed or application removed as a generic wind law for the town of Madison.
But the original, if I may, the original recommendations was a half a mile, which is what, 26?
Yep.
20?
26, yeah.
2640, so 2,800, was a compromise, I guess.
So if you have a property owner on one side that has, say, 300 acres, and a property owner over here that has 300, but they have a non-participating who will not sign a waiver, who has 2 acres in the middle, who built their house on a dead-end road, they're gonna stop those 2 property owners with 300 acres each from getting it.
What makes them any more important?
If they're within the setback.
I'm just saying that from the surveys that we read, the townspeople want them. And I don't want to pass something and then have them say, what, we can only have 4 windmills in the town, there's only 4 sites? I don't know. But like Greg said, how many sites would there be with this?
We
I'd like-
We don't know.
I'd like
I
to-
don't know the makeup of the residents, not a clue.
That's not our purview. It's not for us to say, okay, well, that brings it down to 15 or 18 or something like that. I mean, that's not our, is it? Is that what we're supposed to be looking at?
It
When we're
depends
writing
on
the law?
the wind turbines that they use.
We can either make it conform to what we have, as far as topography or whatever, or we can do it by the standards that we set up.
I guess when the town board opted to have the